The mountain wind smells of salt and iron. It carries the low, patient groan of a city that has learned to weather winter and blood alike. In the thin air above Sparta, a child's cry can be swallowed by granite. A small body can disappear into shadow and rumor so effortlessly that memory itself begins to doubt whether what it remembers ever happened. This is where our story begins. Not with a classroom or a single blow, but with an old law folded into the fabric of a people who chose to make fear an instrument of the state. Some say infants were left on the slopes of Taygetus because fate or form demanded it. Others say the exposure was less ritual than consequence. The sickly folded into the valley to ease a household's burden. Still more say the story is a blade sharpened by poets and enemies, turned again and again until it cut clean through truth. Whatever the truth, the image persists. Tiny feet sliding from a mother's hands into a world that answers only with silence. If you want to walk that ridge with me, to feel the cold of stone underfoot and the hot judgment of a polis that defines worth by iron, press like, subscribe, and stay close. The push of a single thumb can keep this grave story from falling back into myth.
Of cradles and stones, the law that made a city strong. When a people decide to make survival itself their creed, the rules that follow are carved in marble and muscle. This chapter moves quietly from the warm closeness of a birth chamber to the cold arithmetic of a council hall, where decisions about life and usefulness are made in the voice of custom and the sharper voice of necessity. Imagine midwives whose hands know the exact line between health and uselessness. Fathers who lift a newborn and look not only for the breath, but for the bearable weight of future service. Mothers whose lullabies are edged with a dread no child should learn. Listen to the pounding of a hearth becoming the drum of a state. Here we will walk through the decrees and the whispers, the supposed words of lawgivers and the grudging reports of foreign travelers. We will hold in one hand the stew of community survival, and in the other, the small warm body whose right to be kept is questioned by an ideology that worships readiness. And because the past is never simple, we will name what is certain and call what is uncertain by its proper name: law, legend, rumor, historian's best guess. I will not ask you to choose. I will only ask you to feel how close the edge can be when a people places its ideals before its children.
2. The Agoge, hunger, cold, and the making of men. The Agoge is a word that tastes of leather and salt. It smells of smoke and the tang of iron. In this chapter, we will step into its narrow rooms and wider fields, to the endless drilling of body and will. This is the place where boys are taught to eat little and take more, where sleep is light and pain is a teacher whose lessons are memorized with trembling reverence. We will follow 1 or 2 lives through the scraping of sandals and the endless chant of instruction, feeling the constant ache under skin and bone. You will hear the brittle laughter that hides terror, the small betrayals among comrades, the way hunger makes kinship and cruelty interchangeable. Here, every failure is visible, every lapse is a stain on a family's honor. Yet, the Agoge is not merely an engine of cruelty. It is also a place of strange tenderness. Older boys shaping younger ones, whispered counsel passed in the dark, a furtive hand that steadies another at the moment the world seems too wide. We will not romanticize endurance. We will not erase the moments when youth is broken. We will instead trace the line between discipline and dehumanization,
and ask how a city justified the slow erosion of mercy in the name of survival. Failure in Sparta is not the private sorrow of a child. It is a public punctuation mark. This chapter will follow those for whom the right did not ring true, the boys who flinched, the youths who could not endure, the ones who returned home hollow-eyed and changed. We will look at the immediate consequences, the blunt scorns, the curt reassignment, the reclusion of families that cannot bear the verdict of their neighbors. We will also confront the darker stories, the exposures told with a fierce relish by foreign chroniclers and echoed in hushed local rumor. Where certainty fades, I will call the tale what it is, a legend repeated by those who had every reason to make Sparta monstrous in the imagination of the Greek world. Where evidence stands firm, we will face it. And always, we will ask what it does to a community when its failures are treated as moral contagion, how grief hardens into policy, and how the body of a child becomes an instrument by which an entire polis declares itself fit. A state that wields violence as a civic virtue cannot help but see its instruments reflected in every mirror. This chapter widens the lens from the narrow field of the Agoge to the rim of the polis itself, the council chambers, the feast halls, the markets, the blue of the sea that watches the city with indifferent eyes. Here we will chart how militarism shaped laws about property and marriage, how the need for stable phalanxes threaded through family life and social expectation. We will consider the economic calculations, how a society justifies an elite of warriors by the toil of those left outside its superior order. We will examine institutions that enforced silence, oaths, cults, rituals that turned violence into sacred duty. And we will ask a sharper question: what does it mean for a people to consecrate pain? Is there a point where the political necessity that once preserved a city now devours its moral imagination? In these streets and squares, we will meet the faces of those who profited and those who were priced, and listen to the quiet ways guilt is both spread and hidden. Long after the glitter of bronze has dulled and the syllables of old laws have fallen out of daily speech, the stories remain. This final chapter will trace the afterlife of those early choices, how poets and enemies shaped Sparta into a symbol, how modern scholars peel back layer after layer to find inconvenient facts and stubborn absences. We will follow the echoes into contemporary debates about state power and the ethics of training and sacrifice, and into private griefs that outlast institutions. Here mythology and memory collide. The cliff on Taygetus, if there was one, becomes both a real place and a rhetorical device. We will listen for the voices that were once silent, the mothers who may have kept, hidden, or resisted, and try to hear what the dead cannot say. In closing, we will not tidy the past into easy moralities. We will instead hold it up like a dark mirror and ask what we see there: a warning, an explanation, a judgment, or simply a story that refuses to leave us alone. And so, as the echoes of Spartan discipline fade into the quiet of history, we're left with more than just the image of a brutal people. We're left with a question, one that lingers long after the last torchlight has gone out over Mount Taygetus. How far can a society go in the name of strength before it becomes the very thing it fears? Fragile, hollow, unable to feel? The Spartans built a world where mercy was seen as weakness, where every heartbeat was weighed against the good of the state, And yet, it was that same cold perfection that sealed their fate. No empire, no matter how disciplined, survives without compassion. No child, no matter how strong, should have to earn the right to exist.
If this story made you stop, even for a moment, to imagine the sound of that wind, the stillness of that mountain, or the small heartbeat of a child who never got the chance, then you've already carried its lesson further than Sparta ever could. History doesn't just live in ruins or relics. It lives in the choices we make now, in how we treat the powerless, in how we remember the forgotten. Thank you for walking through this haunting piece of history with me. If you want to keep uncovering the darker, quieter corners of the ancient world, the moments that textbooks turn away from, then subscribe. Leave a thought in the comments and let's keep searching together. Because sometimes the past doesn't whisper, it warns.